Hello and welcome back to Bicycle Legs and another edition of Anniversary Albums. Today we're going to be looking at albums that are having a significant anniversary in the month of June 2022. So for those of you new to this series, when I say a significant anniversary, I'm talking about one that ends in a 5 or a 0. So 50th, 25th, 35th, 40th, that sort of thing. I apologize in advance if my voice sounds a bit funny today. I'm in the middle of getting over a head cold and yeah, thankfully it's not you know what, it's just a head cold. Anyway, I've picked out 10 albums and my cat Stella wants to join in, it seems. I've picked out 10 albums that we can have a look at that are having significant anniversaries in the month of June 2022. And let's start with an album that's having its 50th anniversary on the 2nd of June. So it was released on the 2nd of June 1972, and that is Obscured by Clouds by Pink Floyd. I really enjoyed this album. I enjoy both the soundtrack albums. More's a great album too. They were in the middle of working on Dark Side of the Moon when they took a break to basically record this album in 2 to 3 weeks. Shows that they could work fast when they wanted to. And it's a very different album from Dark Side of the Moon. It's not a concept album. The songs are more sort of straightforward. But I really like them. The Obscured by Clouds and When You're In opening instrumentals that kind of run into each other are really, really good. It's got What's the Deal, which is a great song. Childhood's End is a wonderful song too. Really like that. I recently did do a studio albums ranked on Pink Floyd, so if you haven't watched that, please go give it a look. I will link it in the description below. The next album we're going to look at is having its 40th anniversary in the month of June. It was released on the 7th of June 1982, and that is Chicago 16. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Chicago after Terry Kath tragically died. I'm not one of those people. I like a lot of Chicago. Even though the first Chicago albums I owned were Chicago Transit Authority and Chicago 5, which I picked up really cheap at a school fete, I first got exposed to Chicago in the early 80s, and particularly with the big hit off this album, which was Hard to Say I'm Sorry. And I love the 80s Chicago. All right, maybe it's not quite as classic as the 70s Chicago, but I still think it's really, really good. And I enjoy it. What You're Missing, Waiting for You to Decide, Bad Advice. First three songs on the album, and they're all just absolutely killer. Chains is really good too. Sunny Think Twice, Follow Me. There's some wonderful, wonderful songs on this album, and I think Bill Champlin makes his debut with Chicago on this album, and I think he was a wonderful addition to the band. Next up, we're looking at an album that's also having its 50th anniversary in the month of June. It was originally released on the 12th of June 1972, and that is Sometime in New York City by John and Yoko, Plastic Ono Band, and the Elephant's Memory Band. Very much their protest album. Lots and lots of protest songs on the first disc. The second disc is a live disc with various live performances, including some performances they did with Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. Not absolutely prime John Lennon, but I think there's a lot of really good songs on here, and I am one of the people that will defend the Yoko Ono songs. I think she wrote some of the really good songs. Born in a Prison is a Yoko Ono song, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful song. So, yeah, really good album. Next, we have an album that is celebrating its 35th anniversary in the month of June. It was originally released on the 15th of June 1987, and that is Radio Chaos by Roger Waters. His second solo album, but the first one he did after he officially left Pink Floyd. Some people have criticised this album for the sort of dated production on it, and I can kind of get that. It doesn't really... It does sound very 80s, but there's still a lot of really good songs, and I think the concept is quite interesting. I remember buying the Radio Waves single when it first came out. Yeah, I think it's a great album. Not necessarily my favourite Roger Waters solo album, but it's a very, very good album. The next album is celebrating its 50th anniversary in the month of June. It's another artist that I've done a studio albums ranked on, and that is Ziggy Stardust, or The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars by David Bowie. This was number 2 on my top 10 David Bowie albums. Again, I'll put a link in the description for people who want to watch my studio albums ranked. I didn't rank the whole catalogue for David Bowie because it's like he's got 26 albums or something like that. So I just did a top 10. This was one of the very first Bowie albums I ever owned as a kid. It's just a classic album for a reason, and this is the album that made David Bowie a superstar. You know, I mean, it's got Starman on it. It's got Ziggy Stardust. It's got Suffragette City. It's, you know, Moon Age Daydream, which is the song that's the title of the upcoming Bowie documentary, which I'm really, really looking forward to. Fabulous, fabulous album. Released on exactly the same day, the 16th of June 1972. Great day for music. So also having its 50th anniversary is the self-titled album, debut album by Roxy Music. Roxy Music were a really interesting arty band, especially early on, especially while Eno was there. I mean, it still sort of lingered for the next few albums as well, and then they went into that sort of smooth. But I love all of Roxy Music. I am going to be doing a studio albums ranked on Roxy Music hopefully in the next month or two. So yeah, I mean, their studio album, their debut album, it really was, you know, wonderful early art rock album. You know, remake, remodel, Ladytron, 2HB, The Bob, you know, just great songs on this album. And of course, Eno, after the first 2 albums, would leave the band and go on to a wonderful career of his own, both as an artist and as a producer. The next album is celebrating its 40th anniversary in the month of June. It was originally released on the 18th of June, 1982. It is Martin Popoff's favourite King Crimson album, and I think he's even said it's his favourite progressive rock album of all time. And that is Beat by King Crimson. I don't know how progressive rock this particular album is, to be honest. But it is a really good album. I mean, Neil and Jack and Me. Heartbeat is an unusually poppy song for King Crimson. Satori and Tangier, great. Waiting Man. I've always adored Waiting Man. Then you got Neurotica and Requiem at the end. It's just wonderful with the Frippatronics. I'm a sucker for Frippatronics. The next album is also celebrating its 40th anniversary in the month of June. It was released on the 21st of June 1982, and that is the debut album by ABC, The Lexicon of Love. I first knew about this when the singles came out, Poison Arrow and The Look of Love. Produced by Trevor Horn, and he does a marvellous job. It sounds fabulous. This is wonderful, arty 80s pop music. Really, really good. Definitely recommend it to those of you who haven't listened to it. There's definitely sort of little bits of Bowie and Roxy Music in there. but with that 80s sheen to it. The next album we're going to look at is celebrating its 35th anniversary in the month of June. It was released on the 22nd of June 1987, and that is the fourth album by Marillion, Clutching at Straws. This was the last album with Fish as the lead vocalist. He would leave while they were trying to write and record a follow-up to this album, and be replaced by the wonderful Steve Hogarth. I love Fish and I love Steve Hogarth. I love both eras of Marillion. I'm not going to pick a side in that fight. This might be my favourite Marillion album from the Fish era. I mean, that beginning sort of 3 songs, Hotel Hobbies, Warm Wet Circles, That Time of the Night. Just an incredible little mini suite there. White Russian is great. Incommunicado, wonderful, wonderful single. Sugar Mice, a beautiful ballad. It's just a really good album. The concept is sort of, you know, Fish's unraveling due to substance abuse and that sort of thing. Great album. You know, a little bit unfortunate that the band didn't go on with Fish, but then they had Steve Hogarth, and they've done so much wonderful music with Steve. It's great. The last album I'm going to talk about is having its 40th anniversary in the month of June. It was released on the 28th of June 1982, and it is the debut solo album by Robert Plant, Pictures at 11. You know, it must have been hard for him to make this album coming out of Led Zeppelin. Yeah, I mean, you know, sort of deciding what direction musically he was going to go in. I mean, he was the vocalist in the band. He didn't write a lot of the music in Led Zeppelin. And, like, he had to sort of choose which way he was going to go. And this is an interesting, arty album. I really like it. It probably is, you know, got a bit of the Zepp still going with it. Really good album though. Burning Down One Side, Pledge Pin, Slow Dancer. You know, really good songs. I like this album. I think the next album that he did, was even better and probably the best thing he's done as a solo artist. Anyway, that's my 10 anniversary albums for the month of June 2022. Please let me know in the comments which of these albums you really like, which ones you think I missed that I should have included. I always love reading the comments. So please, yeah, let me know. Please like, share and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. I thank everybody who has liked, shared and subscribed. You've really helped grow this channel. We're over 200 subscribers now, which, yeah, it's great. And I'm really, really appreciative to you all. If you're new to the channel, please go and have a look at some of my other videos. I've got everything playlisted, so if you want to look at some of my other anniversary album shows, there's a playlist for that. If you want to look at my studio albums ranked shows, there's a playlist for that. If you want to look at some of my other shows, like my In Defense Of series, or my favorite albums of all time series, or my reviews, they're all playlisted, so you can have a look there and go through them and pick the ones you'd like to watch. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at bicyclelegs on Twitter and Instagram. On Instagram, I'm mostly posting the records I happen to be listening to at the time. On Twitter, I talk about anything and everything, but I'm definitely trying to give that more of a music focus. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.